And good morning everybody, and welcome to Blue Mountains Dawn. We're overlooking the majestic Grose Valley. We are 1 week out from Australia Day 2010, and we begin this morning with Jack Thompson.
A land of sombre, silent hills, where mountain cattle go by twisted tracks on sidelings steep, where giant gum trees grow and the wind replies in the river oaks to the song of the stream below. A land where the hills keep watch and ward, silent and wide awake as those who sit by a dead campfire and wait for the dawn to break, or those who watched by the Holy Cross for the dead Redeemer's sake. A land where silence lies so deep that sound itself is dead, and a gaunt grey bird like a homeless soul drifts noiseless overhead, and the world's great story is left untold, and the message is left unsaid.
And that's an excerpt from Australian Scenery by Banjo Paterson, which depicts this stunningly beautiful landscape that we find ourselves waking up to this morning. Hello, I'm Richard Feidler, and I'd like to welcome you to Evans Lookout in the Blue Mountains. And it's here that we mark the start of Australia Day Week 2010 with this special Dawn event. Jack Thompson has, of course, brought many great Australian characters to life in his long film career, including Clancy of the Overflow from The Man from Snowy River. And that poem you heard was much more than just an actor reciting a monologue. It's a poem that's deeply felt by a man with a strong attachment to this area, as you'll find out about in a moment. The Blue Mountains, about 100 kilometres west of Sydney, are a fine place to begin the lead up to Australia Day. When Lawson, Blaxland and Wentworth crossed these mountains from Sydney in 1813, they succeeded with the novel technique of traversing the ridges rather than going down through the valleys. And they opened the road for future generations into Australia's interior. Today we recognise the achievement of those pioneers, but also with a greater awareness of the impact of that expedition, the impact on those whose lives, as they knew it, would never again be the same. Those Indigenous people whose ancestors and traditions and home have been carved into this landscape. And so with all that in mind, we're here at Evans Lookout, nearly 200 years since that crossing of the Blue Mountains, to continue that Australian journey. And now, with respect, I'd like to ask Auntie Lynn Stanger and Auntie Carol Cooper, on whose land we're gathered today, to welcome us to country.
Good morning. My name is Lynn Stanger, and my Aboriginal heritage is to the Gundungurra and the Darug people. And I would like to welcome you today in respect of elders, past and present, and our ancestors, the custodians of this marvellous land, to the land of the Gundungurra. So I bid you welcome. And I'd just like to say that in the welcome, I spoke about the custodians of this land. If you could look into this glorious valley here, you would see not much has changed. It has still glorious bushland, beautiful fauna living in its natural habitat, wonderful clear streams. And I just wonder how in 1,000 years' time will people look back at us, the custodians of this land, and be able to say what a wonderful job you have done in caring for this place, our home, this Australia. Thank you.
I'm Carol Cooper. Like Lynn, heritage to both Darug and Gundungurra. Today we're on Mum's land, the Darug land, so from the Darug people I'd like to welcome you, sincerely welcome you to our place, and to our ancestors, past, present and those future. Yeah, look, this is just the greatest place, and we do welcome you sincerely. If there is something I would like to say, it is, over the last 12 months, I would like to thank all the Australian people in our most beautiful country for taking a few precious yards up a ladder towards reconciliation. And for that, we'd like to thank you sincerely. Thank you.
I'd like to thank Carol and Lynn for their very, very warm welcome this morning. As the representatives of the traditional owners of the land that we meet on, we feel very, very privileged to be here. Every day before we get into the busyness of life, we're given this moment of quiet to reflect on the day ahead. This morning, I invite you to take this quiet moment to reflect with me on who we are as Australians and who we aspire to be in the future. As I stand here, it's very easy to feel the grandeur of this place. It's 10,000 square kilometres of World Heritage listed beauty. It's a natural wonder to rival the best in the world. I invite you to explore its story and its heritage and to learn what we can from its example. We've already heard something of its nature in the poetry that Jack has so eloquently read for us this morning. It's a place that many of us already feel familiar with. We've seen so much film footage and photographs of this area, and yet it's one of those special places that's somehow so much more than the images of itself. So this morning, we're going to explore it with fresh eyes. The Blue Mountains is full of history. Aboriginal ancestral history, white explorer history, the history of summer holidays and vibrant local communities. It's a landscape that has divided us and one that's brought us together. So this location, as much as any, symbolises Australia's history as a nation. It's scarred and imperfect, it's vast and impressive, and as Australians, it's a part of who we are, and we are a part of it. This morning we'll hear about the area's life and its people. We'll hear from our Australian of the Year and Young Australian of the Year reflecting on what they've learnt over the past 12 months. And we'll hear some music and a little bit more poetry along the way. It's a significant way to start the day, and what a way to herald the nation's significant day of celebration, Australia Day. They say that dawn is the most honest hour of the day, and so this morning it's a time for honesty and reflection. It's also a time to commit ourselves to making the day ahead better than those that have gone before, so that next week, when we come to celebrate Australia Day with our communities, our families and our friends, we can take part knowing that the celebration is grounded in substance and a sense of purpose. The country we love so much is the product of both nature and of people, and we each must play a part. So what does playing a part mean? Well, Australia Day means many different things to different people. So I invite you to share this dawn with me this morning, and at the same time, consider what Australia Day means to you.